I firmly believe that any person or company that wants to be more innovative can relatively easily, by learning how to observe all around them on a very frequent basis, by learning how to record those observations, and then to categorize them in a way so that they can find them when it's time to innovate. So, why does innovation matter? It's one of the most overused words in business today, but it's really extremely important. Some of the reasons that companies like to innovate is, number one, it enables them to enter new market segments that they're not in. And sometimes the innovations can be incredibly simple. Sometimes they can be very, very complex and involve a lot of technology. This is Melissa's Fresh Baked Cupcakes, and they're simply miniature cupcakes. But by miniaturizing, they're able to enter a new market segment and compete with cookies and brownies. Apple, by innovating, can constantly have new reasons to buy the product, and also they can charge an amount of money that their customers reflect the value for the attributes that they deliver that are innovative. If you look at Snapchat, Snapchat has been wildly successful because they've innovated along the dimension of time. And that's an innovation that nobody had really done before the way they did, and it's proved to be very meaningful to a very large segment of the world population. Another example of why companies like to innovate, they like to come up with ways that make their customers' lives more productive, more efficient, better ways to accomplish tasks. This is a product called the Clocky, and it's kind of funny in a way. Some people have trouble getting up in the morning. And the Clocky, you put it on your nightstand at night, and in the morning when it wakes you up, it runs off on the floor, and you have to get out of bed, chase it to turn it off. Okay, so that's a more effective way of getting you up in the morning. Another example that I recently visited, this is called the Guinness Storehouse. In 2015, it was named Europe's leading attraction by the World Tourism Award, and it's a fabulous facility that's incredibly innovative, way beyond my expectations. There's interactivity, there's education about the effect of alcohol on your body, about how beer is made. It's a cultural museum. It's fabulously innovative and very unexpected, and because of that, it's become extremely popular. It's created trial, awareness, brand loyalty, and it's encouraged a lot of viral spread of what a great experience it is. Okay, another reason for all of us to innovate is, how does it make you feel? When you innovate, when you do something new and better and fresh for the first time, it's really exciting. You feel proud of yourself, you feel stimulated, you feel like you've accomplished something. So for the personal fulfillment that it gives you, it's one of the greatest feelings that you can really have. So reasons to innovate for all of us on a personal level. Number one, many of us like to express our individuality, and you can be more creative and innovative in the way you do that. Another thing that you can do is find more innovative ways to pursue your passions. You can be innovative about the way you approach work and study. And lastly, you can be innovative about the way you show people that you love, that you care for them. You can be more creative in terms of how you do it. So what started my journey on being obsessed with innovation? In 2008, I taught at IESE Business School in Barcelona. I still teach for them in New York. And the chairman of the marketing department co-wrote a Harvard case about Ferran Adria, who is widely considered one of the most creative chefs, if not the most creative chef who's ever lived. He's fabulously innovative, and the way he innovates inspired me. So two things that he did that I tried to build upon. One is that he took 6 months off. His restaurant was only open for 6 months, only for dinners. And during the time off, he gave his people permission to go around the world looking at new techniques in food preparation, new equipment, new ingredients. The second thing that he does, which is terrific and helps him, is he has an innovation checklist. He has a list of things that he looks at that most people in the kitchen don't look at. He looks at acoustics of food. What does food sound like when you bite into it? The mechanics of food. How do you eat something? How is it put together? He looks at something called deconstruction, where he'll take a dish apart and put it back together in a familiar yet different way. And he has another dimension, which is evoking the sixth sense, which he considers nostalgia or irony. Okay, so another thing that affected me when I was in Barcelona and started me on the journey was that there was a professor from the University of Virginia Darden School, and every spring break she brought a group of MBAs to Barcelona. One day they went to see the work of Gaudí, the architect. Next day they went to see Picasso's work, then Miro, and then Salvador Dali. And every day they had a discussion the next morning about management principles and thinking outside the box and what could companies learn from the way these very creative people thought. And that really set me on a mission to look beyond business for inspiration that could be brought back to businesses. Okay, so the challenge that all of us have as human beings and as corporations is to find stimuli and then to organize it to be useful to us later on when we need it for ideas to innovate. So the first thing I did was I wrote a book called Catalyzing Innovation. I tried to create a more systematic approach for companies to innovate. I went around the world looking at anything that I thought was innovative, anything that I had never seen before. And then I took a picture of it, so you need to capture the observation, and then you need to categorize it, and that's what I did. So I created 60 different categories of innovation, and I'll just show you some of the examples. So one of the first ones that I really like is that I wrote my book in iBooks Author, which is relatively new software that Apple has created. Years ago, I wrote a cookbook, and at that time, I needed to hire a graphic layout person to put this together. With iBooks Author, I was able to do everything myself. And so I have a chapter in my book on customer empowerment or tool enabling innovation. Now what has happened is we have tools that we never had before, 3D printers, ways that we can make our dreams a reality ourselves without having to depend on anybody else. And what's also innovative about the book is that I view it as a living book. I can keep updating it, and as I travel, as I see new innovations, I'm able to add it to the book. So it's like an app update, and whenever anybody has a copy, for the rest of the time that they have a copy, they continuously get updates with whatever I find that's new. Okay, so another thing, just to give you examples of types of innovation, this is Amarino to the left, is an ice cream. It's from Italy. And why does it always have to be a ball of ice cream? Why can't it be a flower? This can go into two different categories. One is making the ordinary special, and another one is combining things. Many new products exist today because they're combinations of two different categories. So here you see a macaron in the middle, and then a petal flower on the outside. The next images are from India, and in India, truck drivers like to decorate their trucks, and they paint, as you can see, on the gas flap and also on nuts and bolts on the wheel. So that's the first time I've ever seen anybody do something creative on the gas flap or on the wheels, the nuts and bolts of the wheel. But I think it makes the truck drivers happier and prouder in their day-to-day work. Okay, another thing from Ireland. So there's a hotel called the Marion Hotel, and they have one of the largest private art collections in Ireland, and they've created pastries. This is in my chapter on analogies, where the pastries are representative of the art in their collection. So every day if you go to high tea, there'll be 3 pastries, and you get a little baby easel with that picture, and you can see the analogy. Okay, another example, innovations can be literally in your backyard. I live in Brooklyn, and this is in Brooklyn Bridge Park. There was some fabulous outdoor furniture, and this is in my chapter, Reversing Things. Instead of having a tree outside or next to a bench, the tree is inside the bench. How clever is that? Okay, and then the last example, also in Brooklyn, there's a bar, taco place, and this is my chapter of Repurposing Innovation. They took skateboards and simply used skateboards and cut them in half and made chairs out of them. So there's just so much innovation all around that I really encourage everybody to be looking all the time for it. Okay, so the purpose of the book is to create a checklist for companies or individuals to think about all the different ways they can innovate. Many times people approach innovation and ideas are flying all around, but it's really not methodical or systematic. The second reason to do this is you can go to a chapter on packaging or materials, and you can see what companies in different industries all around the world have done to have more innovative packaging or materials. So I encourage you, you don't need the book, you can do this on your own, create your own checklist and develop your own stimuli. Okay, so the second thing that I did based on the way Ferran innovates is that I created a program called Inventours, where I take people charged with innovation in companies in all different industries around the world to meet with leading innovators in different cities to cross-pollinate ideas, to get outside of their industry, outside of their country. And just to give you a flavor, we meet with our top architects, product designers, digital agencies, materials companies, flavor and fragrance companies, in order to see how each of these innovates, and we go to their workshops, offices, labs, studios to see how the mental and physical environment affect creativity. So it's 5 days of going from firm to firm and just discussing how they innovate. Okay, another thing I've done on a smaller scale, which is a lot of fun, and all of you can do this for yourself, is I have safaris in cities just on a local basis. And I've done a number of these, and it can be looking at what's in the market and what does that represent in terms of a company's marketing strategy, or what innovative marketing tactics did they employ to get your attention, or what kind of a customer experience did they create? Were you happy with it? Was it innovative or was it not pleasant? Merchandising, packaging. So these are examples of things that companies can learn about competitors and best-in-class practitioners just by going around and looking. So how does this relate to you? You can create your own safaris. So let's say you're interested in fashion. You can go around window shopping. You can do safaris on the internet. Flowers and plants, you want to decorate your garden, you want to landscape. So you can study what botanical gardens are doing or what individuals are doing. If you want to create a website, you can go obviously online and see what are the best websites that you like that you want to emulate. Okay, restaurants, the same thing, etc. So in all of this, try and figure out what was innovative to you, why was it innovative, and categorize it. Okay. So there are a lot of different ways that you can innovate and be observant. One of my favorite ones is analogies, and this is one of my favorite examples. I was sitting in a restaurant last year and sat next to someone whose father was the leading distributor of lobsters in the world, and he said lobster salad was becoming very popular, and they were trying to figure out a better way of getting lobster meat out of the shell. So who did they benchmark? The avocado industry, because they had a similar problem, and they found high pressure equipment to separate the shell from the flesh inside. Okay, another example of an analogy, when Apple created the iMac computer with glossy exteriors, who do you think they benchmarked? They went to jelly bean factories, because that's another example of a colored glossy exterior. Another of my favorite examples is there's a German manufacturing company called Festo in Stuttgart, Germany, and their engineers like hanging out at the Stuttgart Zoo. They had a challenge, which was to create manufacturing equipment that was more flexible, and they looked at an elephant's trunk, which has hundreds of muscles in it, and they were able to replicate that in machinery so that it could be more flexible and more treat fragile elements with more dexterity. Okay, another thing that you can do to observe is collaborate with partners in other industries. One of my favorite examples is the late Zaha Hadid, who is maybe the most famous female architect in the world, and she loved collaborating with furniture designers, and in this case, shoes. She collaborated with Melissa Shoe Company, it's plastic shoes from Brazil, and created these fabulous looking shoes that probably would not have come out of the mind of someone who just worked in shoes. Another thing that companies can do, sometimes the innovation is close at hand. You don't have to go that far. If you look at Procter & Gamble, the technology that they use to create Pampers diapers is similar to the technology that's used to create sanitary protection products, and it's also similar to the technology that's used in the Swiffer. Okay, so look close at hand as well as far away. The implication for us in our lives is benchmark your friends and your family, because maybe you can find good ideas closer at hand. So another thing that companies do, and we can all do, is listen to our customers. Virgin America, which is many people's favorite airlines, most people really love it, they have a group of 30 frequent flyers that they talk to regularly who love the brand and give them a lot of honest feedback. Another great example of listening to customers is Slurpee, 7-Eleven. they created a new product by listening to what their customers were saying online. Many of their customers were adding Sour Patch Kids to Slurpees and creating this mixed drink, and so they said, well, if other people are doing it and invented it on themselves, why don't we adapt it more broadly? Another thing I think is very interesting is to listen to people who are not the typical users. There's a very large company called Cognizant, and they are a technology company. They do a lot of analytics of software and technology development, and recently they were trying to understand how people interact with devices, with electronic devices, and rather than interviewing adults, they went around the world to all these markets: Stockholm, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Singapore, and Seoul. And who do you think they interviewed? 10 to 15-year-olds. Okay, because they feel that they're digital natives, they're very creative, they're less inhibited, and they have a great vision of the future. And so that was an unusual place to go, but they got a lot of great insights. Okay, and then hiring for relevant but less obvious skill sets. So IDEO, which is one of the great product development firms in the world, hired a 91-year-old woman to help them develop products for senior citizens. Okay, she was happy, and it was great for the company because they got great insights. Another example is bringing in experts to shed light. When Apple developed the watch, they brought in astronomers and historians to provide a perspective of history through time and through space. Another thing relevant to students is that many companies, L'Oreal being one of them who's doing it particularly well, they have something called L'Oreal Brandstorm. They pose problems to students all over the world. They have competitions, and they get a lot of great feedback. There's also something called maker fairs. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but maker fairs are for entrepreneurs to show the creations that they've made. 3D printing has enabled many people to realize their dreams and create new product ideas relatively inexpensively. They attend these maker fairs. They're growing like crazy all over the world, and many big companies are going to maker fairs to try and get insights from small business people. So the wrap up is, look every day at innovation around you. Be sure to capture that. Talk to family and friends. Collaborate with others. Talk to experts. Talk to consumers of all types. Get all the employees in the company involved, not just those in the new product development process. Benchmark the best firms, and talk to entrepreneurs and students. And again, just capture your observations, categorize them, file them, and then you can use them when you're ready to innovate. Create your own categories, and there's many productivity tools now, many apps that you can use to do this, unlike ever before. And then lastly, make observing a fun habit. Okay, sensitize yourself to do it all the time. I'm now, every single day, I look around me and I'm constantly observing new innovative things. Okay, second thing is find what's unique and special around you. As I said, it'll really become second nature to you. It will change the way you view the world, and it really will make every day an adventure that's fun and exciting. Thank you.